to my channel, True Talk with Ericka, Sallee, where I empower women to live fulfilled, to focus on wellness mentally, physically, and spiritually, and to transform into the best versions of themselves. So if this is something that is of interest to you, then I do encourage you to subscribe to the channel, share it out, and turn the notification bell on so that you are in the know when new videos are uploaded. I also encourage you to drop a comment below and let me know what you think about the channel and the conversation for this video. So I'm going to take you on a little journey with me, just moving from here, the sink, over to the refrigerator. All right? Now, I want you to just take a listen. Hear that? Ice falling on the floor? It's all good. Now, you might say to yourself, all right, so you got some ice out of the ice maker. What's the big deal? People do it all the time when they have those kinds of refrigerators. Well, up until a couple weeks ago, I didn't even know the thing worked. So as I am recording this video, it is graduation season. So I hosted my niece's graduation party. She graduated from high school, super proud of her. And so people were here at the house, and I had a cousin who went over to the ice maker, put his cup under, just like you just saw me do, and got some ice. And so I'm standing here in this space, and my daughter was around, and we both looked up and we were like, what is that noise? And he's looking at us like we're like a little off because he's like, it's the ice maker. And I'm like, I have not used that thing in probably at least 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. It's been a long, long time. So when he put the cup under there to get the ice, I was like, I didn't even know the thing worked. So we're looking and we're all baffled. Well, and so in order for us to get ice out of the freezer, I would buy bags of ice. Now I know because the thing hadn't been working. You might say, well, why didn't you just get it fixed? It was one of those things where I'm like, okay, let me just buy a bag of ice, throw it in there. And it's just something that just never was a priority because I'm like, well, if we need ice, this is how we're going to do it for now. Well, now turned into a long time, and that's another story, but here we are. So I would buy bags of ice, drop it in the freezer, and we would just scoop it out of the freezer with a cup, or we would take not an ice pick. Yes, we would use a knife to crack up the ice and get it that way. That's what we have been doing for a really long time. So when I heard the ice maker, it just totally threw me because I'm like, we've been doing all that and I could have been using it all the time. But here is what I realized is that the freezer is not producing the ice on its own as it should. But if there is ice in there, the device or the mechanism still works. So you can still put your glass underneath the thing, just like you just saw me do, and get your ice. It was like one of those moments where you say, oh my gosh, really? Now, I probably still need to get it checked and figure out what the problem is and why it's not producing its own ice. That still is not a priority for me, especially now knowing that I can still get it. Now, you might be saying, well, by the time you buy bags of ice and you fill it up, you probably have already, gotten it fixed or whatever. Well, you're right. Well, for now, we're going to keep doing it. But anyway, so this is what came to mind for me. I had to write this down because it really was one of those things where my daughter and I looked at each other and we're like, we can't believe that we've been going in the freezer and scooping out the ice and we could have been just putting the thing underneath. So we laughed about it. But as we laughed about it, I thought about a few things. I had to write them down because I just thought about, well, how does this pertain to life? And how does this pertain to our journey to living? Whether you are seeking something new, whether you're trying to reinvent yourself, whether you're trying to reach a goal. After all, here on this channel, that's really what I want to focus on. And here's the deal. I want to say this before I move on. If this is the first time that you've landed here, you may be saying to yourself, okay, this is True Talk with Ericka, Sallee. I realize that there are two aspects of our brain and of our thinking and of our mindset. And that is the true talk that sometimes sounds like it is truth, And we buy into that a lot. And we continue to move and behave and show up based on this true talk that, oh, it sounds like that's the real deal. Like, oh, this ice maker doesn't work. So, oh, that sounds like that is the reality. But the other side, the true talk that I want to move from this side to this side, is embracing a new way of thinking, a new way of being, a new way of having conversation with ourselves that creates possibility for us. I just wanted to say that in case you haven't been here before and trying to figure out, like, what does this thing true talk really mean? So there's two aspects of that. And my goal here is to get us to think beyond what we sometimes tell ourselves so that we can create the best version. So this is why I wanted to write these few things down. So when I thought about this ice maker situation, the first thing that came to mind was, well, don't make assumptions. You know how sometimes we see something, we hear something, we see someone, and we might think we know what the context of whatever it is that we're seeing or we're hearing is, but we may not have the full picture. And we base our reactions and our responses and our behaviors and our next steps on assumptions that don't really give us the full context. So I assumed that because I had not used the ice maker, I think the last time that I used it, I remember doing exactly what you saw me do, putting a cup under there, and I got nothing. And that's what led me to say, okay, well, we still need ice, so let me just go buy a bag of ice. So I never, ever went back to put the glass underneath of the ice maker, I should say ice machine, because it's not making its own ice, to even use it, because my assumption was that because the last time I used it, it didn't work, so there was no way that I could use it another way, okay? So don't make assumptions. So you might be in a place right now where you're looking at something, or you're thinking about something, or maybe you're thinking about reaching out to someone to ask for help because you are looking to make a next step or make a move in something that you want to do. And you might be assuming, oh gosh, I can't reach out to this person because they may not be willing to help, or they're going to think some kind of way about me if I ask for help. But when we make assumptions, we miss out on the benefits that we could be receiving if we just take that step without making assumptions. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is to step away for a bit and give it a rest. Now, when I say this, and I just came in from a walk and I'm still steaming because you can tell it's going to be a scorcher outside, so I can still feel pockets of sweat that are breaking out on me. So y'all just just hang with me, because it is what it is. So when I say step away for a bit, give it a rest, we stepped away from using this ice maker the way we were used to using it. And once we got into the rhythm of doing something else to get the same result, then we just that's what we did. And so that stepping away was by circumstance, if you will. For you, it might be a stepping away for a bit by choice. Here's what I mean by that. So sometimes we can be heads down, working on something, focusing on something, trying to figure out something. And sometimes when we hit a roadblock, we can get frustrated. And in that frustration, we continue to go at it, and it's like something still is missing, and it's still not working, and I still don't have the answer, but I'm gonna keep going at it and going at it and going at it, and you're not getting the result that you want. So sometimes it makes sense to step away from the thing, because then you give yourself an opportunity to allow your brain to rest, your body to rest. And a lot of times when we're doing something and we're trying it ad nauseum and we are not getting the result, we get frustrated, we get anxious, we get mad. We might lash out at people. And that is just not a good place to be for you or anybody else connected to you who may be on the other side of getting the brunt of your frustration. So when you step away from it, it allows you to just separate yourself from the moment of angst, the moment of frustration. I know many, many times I have sat down and I have tried to approach something and I've hit a roadblock. And I know that there have been moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't seem to figure this out. What's the next piece? What's the next step? And I noticed that when I've moved away from it, I've gotten a level of clarity that I did not have while I was still in it, trying to make it work, trying to figure it out. So stepping away to give it a rest, give the idea, give the effort, give your body, give your mind, I'm gonna say that again, a chance to just stop. And then when you step away from it, it's really a way of nurturing yourself and caring for yourself so that you can de-escalate the anxiety, frustration, or whatever other emotion you may be experiencing while you're like really trying to go at that thing. Because I'll tell you, there were a lot of times when I got frustrated, I was like, okay, this thing ain't working. And so that's what led me to say, let me just go buy some bags of ice. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing is to try using something that you thought was no longer useful. I'll say that again. Try using something that you thought was no longer useful. Now, the way that you can do that best, in my opinion, and this is why I'm sharing it in this order, is after you've stepped away. After you've had a chance to say, okay, I'm going to put this down. I'm not going to focus on it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to try to figure it out anymore. I need to back away from the thing. Because when you do that, remember when I just said, when you do that, you give yourself a chance to, yes, rest, but then there are opportunities for new things to open up, new ideas, new levels of creativity, new ways of going back to the thing that you were working on to say, oh, well, wait a minute, let me try this. Let me look at it this way. So using something that you thought was no longer useful, now I can go over to the device and I can get my ice out. Now, as long as I have some ice in there that I bought from the store, then yes, it'll work. So now I can use the thing that I thought was no longer useful to me. So you might have something. It might not be your ice maker. It might be an idea that you have been working on or thinking about, and for whatever reason, it hasn't been working. When you step away, that time that you give yourself may give you the opportunity to have some new ahas and say, oh, wait a minute, I didn't think about this. Or maybe I can take this approach, and then you can go back to the thing and apply that new idea, that new creativity, that new sense of, oh, well, let me try to do it this way. Now, there are some times when you may have to set the thing aside and you may have to go in a whole nother direction, okay? That is also the benefit of stepping away, giving yourself some downtime, because then you might come to the realization that, oh, well, wait a minute, try using something that I thought was no longer useful. Okay, what's no longer useful has now given me an idea to figure out something else that's useful. So that's another way to look at that. So there's probably more around that part of it in another conversation, but in this context, if you go back to the thing, you're like, oh, wait a minute, here's a new way that I can do that. Okay, so here's the last thing. I actually wrote two things down for this because I think there's a couple ways to look at it. The first thing that I wrote was to expect the unexpected, okay? I had no idea. Like, I wasn't even expecting that was going to be. And I feel like I've had several family gatherings here. And I can remember saying to family members, the ice maker doesn't work, so get ice out of the coolers, or, if it was a small gathering and people could get it out of the freezer in the old way, just kind of scooping a cup in there to get it out. So I wasn't expecting that. So when I say expect the unexpected, the way that you can think about it in the context of what you may be dealing with and in the space that you're in right now is you can be thinking about, okay, don't make assumptions, step away for a bit, try using something that you thought was no longer useful, or figure out what else might be useful. And when you do that, you can expect the unexpected, right? Out of all of the situations or the way that your life might look, or your circumstances might look right now, it's like, okay, I don't know if this will work, or it looks like it might not work, but I'm going to expect the unexpected, because my circumstances would tell me that there's no way I should expect anything better. But if I expect, then when I do all these things, then I'm looking for how those gems are going to show up and things are going to work best in my favor. That's one way. I also wrote a little note here, and I said, embrace the unexpected, which was more the situation for me. Embrace the unexpected. When I heard that noise that you just heard a few minutes ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I embraced the fact. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can go over and I can use it. Embrace the unexpected. Sometimes the best nuggets, the best ideas, the best gems, the best conversations, the best levels of creativity come from places that we may not have a clue about, like we would be least expecting it. It could be someone sending you a text message or a phone call and telling you something that you needed, or giving you something that you needed. It could be you walking down the street and you see something that inspires you. Expect and embrace the unexpected, right? Embracing the unexpected. And I also think this goes back to the stepping away for a bit and giving yourself time to rest. I truly do believe that when we do that, it opens us up to be able to expect the unexpected, to embrace the unexpected, to not just care for ourselves, which is a foundation of every conversation that I have, but that caring for ourselves allows us to then just be open to receive things in ways that we did not expect. So that is part of the expect and embracing the unexpected. So I'm really excited about the fact that now I can use something that I thought was no longer useful to me because it was not working in the way that I was used to it working, or that it should work. But there is another way. So that's another thing too. Like there's always multiple ways to approach something, and sometimes we get so stuck in, this is the way we've always done it, this is the only way that it can be done, and then when we run into a roadblock, we just get tripped up and we check out because it doesn't work the way we're familiar with it working. So I don't know who that's for. If it's for you, I do encourage you to just grab whatever gems, whatever nuggets you need, and continue on the journey that is purposeful and meaningful for you. So I also encourage you to drop your comments. Let me know what you thought about this conversation, and I look forward to you coming back to this platform to hear more conversations like this. So until then, I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Take care of yourselves, and yes, be well.